Hello and welcome to Ashamed of Thrones. My name is Doug, and with me, as always, is Brian. Brian, say hello.
Hello, Doug.
Hi, what's going on, Brian?
Not much. I'm ready to get right into the show.
All right, so just since this is our first real show, we've had a couple false starts and, let's say, warm-up shows. This is a weekly recap podcast for the HBO show Game of Thrones. From a kind of disgruntled, annoyed book reader's perspective, we don't have a lot of... we're not scholars. We're fans of the books, and at least I think the book is much better than the show, and as the show has started to outpace the books, the quality has gone a little south. So, without going any further into it, we're going to recap the show. This week's show is Season 6, Episode 1, The Red Woman, or the Red Woman's Saggy Titties, as I like to call this. This will be spoiler-filled for everything, so if you don't want to be spoiled on anything, don't listen. So let's start off with your initial impressions. Brian, what do you think of the show?
Well, first of all, I'd back up and say, don't listen. But anyways, the show, it started off on a sour note in that they had a couple of minutes of ads followed by a long recap. And I added it up when you combine it with the closing credits and the completely unnecessary look inside the episode by the showrunners.
Right.
There's actually only 47 minutes of show after waiting who knows how many months. So I wasn't happy that they started out with advertisements right off the bat.
Oh, you don't want to see vinyl?
Or Mad Max Fury Road.
Right. If you like Game of Thrones, you'll love fucking vinyl about a time in history where nobody wants to go back to.
Yeah, and from what I understand, that thing is even more off the rails. The only people I know who like that are kind of idiots, but we'll talk about that.
Wait, not you, listener.
No, there's a specific idiot. But you know who you are.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I saw, because I had to watch it on my phone because, of course, HBO Go and HBO Now, they all decided on all my devices, decided that, hey, guess what? You got to reactivate the app to watch the show. And of course, I'm finding this out right at like 9:02, and I'm rushing to like get set up on my Apple TV or my Xbox or something. All my devices have been logged out, and I have to reactivate. And the only one that was working for me was my iPhone. But when I did watch it on my iPhone, I noticed that, yeah, it said the whole episode was like 56 minutes, and I noticed the same thing, and it said, be sure to tune in at the end. And I was like, well, that's a couple minutes, you know. And then, of course, you had the advertisements in the beginning. So I feel like just leading into initial impressions, I will say we didn't get a lot out of this episode. I mean, I'm sure some people will disagree, but I didn't feel like...
No, we didn't. We got one. I counted 15 separate scenes. Mm-hmm. And I think I would argue that only one advanced the storyline. And of course, it was in Dorne, the worst of the storylines. So
Agreed.
You want to get started launch into the actual show.
Yeah.
If we spent more time talking about how they wasted time, we're wasting.
We're wasting a lot of time. Let's get right into it. Okay, so we start off at the wall, and the scene, the actual shot is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And this weird shot where it looks like, I thought it was a cave wall, but it turned out to be another wall, the wall of ice with the sunrise. Reflecting off of it, and they do this aerial shot and go right into Castle Black, and you see Jon Snow's corpse on the ground, surrounded by blood, and you hear Ghost howling, right?
Correct.
All right, and then I guess, Davos hears the howling, says, what's up with howling? Wolves don't howl, that's weird. Goes out and, sees the corpse, and everybody else out in the yard sees it too. They bring Jon Snow's body inside and talk about how angry they are and they can't trust anybody besides the people in the room.
Yeah, and I thought the best part of the episode was that it caused my dire beagle to become upset and bark at the screen because of the wolf.
Your beagle was howling at the TV?
She ordinarily doesn't do that, but yeah, she was doing a little howling and pacing around. But this scene, I think, really set up what appears to be coming in the previews, which is the Battle of the Wildlings versus the Night's Watch, which I think will be interesting.
Right. I agree with you.
And I don't even know if they're Night's. We'll get to it eventually, but I don't know. I would argue they aren't really Night's Watch at this point after.
Right.
It's treason,
Exactly. They are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're not with the rest of them, and we'll talk about the rest of the Night's Watch just being like, okay, I guess we're doing this thing now. But they are now on the outside looking in. So yeah, they're traitors. They're rebels. They can say they're fighting for the true Night's Watch, but they're rebels. So Melisandre joins the sausage fest. And
her spidey sense was tingling.
Yeah, her spidey sense, I guess, just like she had the spidey sense that the camp was being burned in Stannis when she was in Stannis' camp, but she didn't do anything. She was just like, it's weird. But, okay, so she comes in and says that this doesn't make any sense. I saw Jon fighting at Winterfell in my flames. So we're pretty sure Jon's going to come back to life, and that's going to happen, right?
Yes, but the way they delayed it for another week, it pissed me off.
I agree.
I mean, just do it. It's like just like at the end of the last season of Walking Dead, where they don't know who Negan killed. I don't like it when they draw these things out when we've already been waiting how many months to see what happens, and then you set it on to the next episode. I didn't care for that at all.
I agree with you. I think I was predicting that the last scene would be Jon Snow opening his eyes, and that would have been better, let's say.
Yes.
And maybe that was their original intent, and they had to, maybe the reason why this episode was so short is because they decided to take something from the end of this episode and put it into next week's. Who knows?
I don't know. It was just really frustrating that it seemed like nobody's story arc moved along. And I 100% expected this particular story to move along, and it just didn't.
Right. And I understand it's the first episode to a new season. You have to set up the board as it is, tell where everybody is to get us reacquainted with where everybody is, what their situation is. But then again, you do have the previously on, so I don't know how much.
And in preparing for this, to try to do a recap show, of course, we've gone back and watched most of the episodes again, or at least I have. So now I'm completely up on it for once. I didn't need the recap, but perhaps that's why being a little bit more critical of it.
Yeah, perhaps. But still, you wanted something to go forward, and yeah, I agree with you. The only thing that went forward was something nobody cares about and appears to be inconsequential. All right, so after Melisandre, doubts herself and she's at the sausage party, we cut to the Elks Lodge where Alistair Thorne is holding court, like he's gonna put the system on trial or something. He's banging his gavel. He says, this long speech how he never disobeyed an order and how he's given his life for the Night's Watch. And I'm thinking, never disobeyed an order. What? Jon didn't say don't stab me, so you're cool? Like,
I guess treason's cool. You're
treason
fine with
is
that.
fine. I never disobeyed an order. They never told me don't commit treason, so whatever.
He turns around and he's victim blaming. He made me do it.
Right.
He was asking for it.
Yeah, exactly. What do you expect? The way he was dressed?
Yeah. You saw that boiled leather. He wanted to be stabbed. Yeah.
Want to puncture it like the skin of a sausage.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing I wrote about this scene is he's saying Jon was going to destroy the Night's Watch as if it was something he was going to do in the future. But are there more wildlings left to bring over? Or isn't the damage already done and this is more like revenge or punishment?
Well, I don't think that they all are. I guess it's because it's not clear what happened at Hardhome, or how many weren't there at Hardhome. For instance, the Thens weren't going to come back, and I don't remember seeing Thens come back with him.
But I assume they're all dead if they were at Hardhome and they didn't make it to the boats.
Yeah, but I don't know how many weren't at Hardhome or where 1-1's crew is, if it's just him left.
Regardless, I think maybe the wildlings of any kind of military prowess are probably already south of the wall, so you can't put the worms back in the can at that point. So it seems like this is more revenge as opposed to stopping something from happening in the future.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that just seemed like a weird situation.
Sure.
So what comes next?
Well, I was surprised that even though I was surprised that Jon Snow didn't get more, have more supporters in that room.
Yeah, like one guy going, well, that's fucked. He goes, what happened to Jon Snow? He's dead. How'd he die? I stabbed him.
All right, well, then let's go try to get his body back.
And there's not a brawl? How is there not a brawl? Like, there had to be a lot more people that were on his side. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then cut to everyone's favorite brilliant military strategist, Ramsay Bolton.
Oh, wait. First of all.
Yes.
So we go back to the sausage party, the room, the hotel party where all the dudes are protecting Jon Snow's body, and Melisandre's there. In
this case, wouldn't it be a bangers party? Isn't this theoretically set over in like England?
Yeah, but they have the chicken there, so I guess it's a banger and mash party at this point. But,
Jesus Christ.
But
podcast is canceled.
Pip or Pippin or whatever the guy's name is, the writers threw him an amazing line, or I guess like a super like Arnold Schwarzenegger line. But I'm sure Jon Snow wouldn't want you to die for nothing. He's like, if you were planning to see tomorrow, you picked the wrong room.
Yeah. They should have had somebody cut in with a "get to the wildlings."
So that seemed a little over the top, but whatever. I enjoy it. And once again, the promise of future violence is always good, I guess.
I didn't mind that exchange.
I didn't. I mean, it's Davos. I mean, Davos, the guy who plays Davos is awesome. He's a good character actor. So,
I like him.
Davos says there are other people who owe their lives to Jon, and Pip's like, "Oh, okay, I'll be right back as soon as I can." So presumably Pip's off to get Tormund and the other wildlings who are south of the wall to come back to Castle Black, correct?
That was I understand. And then you also see that in the preview for this season. It looks like the wildlings are fighting with Jon Snow.
Well, with Jon Snow?
Yes.
So in the previews they showed that he's alive?
I watched a way too in-depth breakdown of a video.
Oh, okay,
and one of the screenshots it was.
So that's wild speculation.
Okay.
I think he's gonna stay dead. I think they're just holding on to the body because they're gonna get hungry one day. All right, so take us to Boltonfell.
Well, then we see Ramsay, and he's mourning the loss of his dear kennel master's daughter, paramour Miranda. It's actually
she smelled like dog.
Yeah, he talks about how she's fearless, and it was actually kind of a touching moment. Like he seemed like he genuinely cared for her, probably because she was the only other sociopath in the that was near him. And of course, it ends in typical Ramsay fashion of whoever the guy there is asks what he should do with the body. Should he burn it, bury it? And Ramsay says something about it's good meat, feed her to the hounds.
Right.
Just when you think he might have a shred of humanity, it turns around. He throws probably the only person he's loved tells her to feed her to the hounds.
But at the same time, I mean, if he's an evolved human being and he's an atheist, I mean, it's just a body. Who cares?
Well, yeah, meat. It's good meat.
All right,
no question about that.
But at the same time, I wrote that it just seemed more lack of subtlety and the fact that he's just more cartoonish evil at this point. Like he's a guy twirling his mustache going, after
he rapes and flays you.
Right.
And feeds you to the hounds.
Right. But then they transition to Ramsay talking to Roose.
Yes. And that was actually the first scene where they confirmed that Stannis is dead.
Well, here's what I wrote is they confirm he's like, oh, so Stannis is destroyed. Who struck the blow? And he said he doesn't know. Obviously, it was Brienne, but once again, I don't know if this is a confirmation of death.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. If it is, then I don't know why they left off the actual death in the last episode.
Right, like why not show it on screen? And that just seems overly suspicious. And the fact that they're kind of confirming it, but they don't actually confirm it. They're not like, did you see we're flaying Stannis' body in the next room? That would be a confirmation of fucking death. But you
wouldn't flay a dead guy because that loses the point.
I don't know. I feel like you'd do it anyway just to, they display the dead guys and they burn them on. Those guys can't be alive. Speaking of the trailers, we see a bunch of bodies skinned and on fire.
No, I'm no Bobby Flay. I'm no expert on this thing. I thought they did it as a method of torture.
They do, but then they obviously display the dead bodies to the general public, which they could do with Stannis. So it might not. I agree that it's about torture, but it's probably also about sending a message. But regardless, the reason why I brought it up was if they said specifically that they had Stannis' body, that would confirm he was dead. I still put that there's still wiggle room. Once again, I feel like the Stannis line has basically ended, unfortunately. I don't like how it was handled in last season. At the same time, why not show that death? We see all sorts of stupid deaths, people getting stabbed in the back of the head and things poking out their faces left and right. Why would you delay that. And
I think he has to be, because I don't know how Brienne of Tarth would have walked away from there without killing him.
And that's the thing is, if she would have shown up with Stannis later in the episode when she shows up, that would have been the time to reveal that Stannis is still alive. So more than likely he's dead, but once again, we don't have any concrete confirmation.
Yes.
One thing I did write about this scene is that Roose says to Ramsay, "Your command of the cavalry was impressive."
Sure. He's, like we discussed in the test runs, he is the Napoleon of raping and disgusting things.
He's referring to him leading the forces against Stannis when Stannis met him in the field without any kind of horses or siege weapons or food. And all Ramsay did was basically surround him. So
right.
How impressive is that?
Multitudes more men and much better equipped, and they're actually fed him and eating horse meat from recently killed horses.
Right.
Yes. And they're also Northmen, which somehow equates to being somewhat magic, apparently. But
right.
That's beyond the scope of this
episode. They know the land better than anybody else.
Yeah, and what was striking about this scene is, Roose finally kind of called Ramsay out for being a psychopath when he said, "You played your games, and now you have no heir." And he begins talking about his Roose's. He thinks he's going to be having his son. Without Sansa, Ramsay is basically worthless at that point.
But I like that about Roose is that's a scary character. Yes. He doesn't care that his son, his bastard child, is a fucking psychopath that likes to cut people's skin off. That's fine as long as it doesn't pragmatically fuck up his plans.
Right.
And in this case, it did. So that's the only reason he's coming down on Ramsay. So I like that. That makes Roose so much creepier.
Roose also mentioned that I think it was the first time he mentioned that in marrying Sansa to Ramsay, he defied the crown.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he said that, and then I think what they're doing, possibly setting up, and I've heard this theory floated around, is that we might see Ramsay kill Roose and his, I guess, stepmother once his heir, or I guess his place at the throne, is threatened by another son coming to Roose.
And you've mentioned that before in the previous episodes, but I totally agree now. I mean, it's a clear and present threat to Ramsay's position as Lord of Winterfell and his bid to inherit everything his dad is going to leave him if there's another boy. Obviously, he's just a waste of space. So yeah. I agree. I think more than likely Ramsay's going to kill his father and his stepmom.
Which is ironic because Ramsay, like the idea of the family and the importance of the Bolton name, and like he harps on it constantly. Right. It appears he's going to be the one that destroys the family.
But to his credit, he's right. It doesn't mean shit if your dad's willing to fuck you over for an unborn child and ruin your day. You're still a bastard in his eyes, obviously.
Sure. So then one thing they did do is they moved from story to story in a logical way. So then it goes from Roose and Ramsay to the next scene, unless you had anything else to say about that last scene. So then it moved to the Sansa and Reek, the getaway. Mm-hmm. And you see them cross the frozen river because, Reek is able to communicate to Sansa just how bad it can be if they are caught.
Right.
He's afraid of the hounds. They cross the river. Somehow the hounds cross the river too. Was there a bridge nearby? I'm not entirely sure how that worked. Exactly.
I'm not entirely sure either, but Theon said this is the only way to lose the hounds. And the only way you really lose the hounds if you cross a river is to walk in the river for an extended period of time, because in the snow, you're going to see footprints on one side, you're going to see the river, and then you're going to see footprints on the other side. So it doesn't really, not going to throw anybody off. But yeah, it's a minor point. Yeah.
And so they're confronted. He tries to save her by saying she went north. Of course, the dogs smell Sansa right away.
Right away.
Yeah, and then
she had the moon blood.
Oh no,
she's a woman flowered at this point. Let's not forget. No, I'm not cutting that.
So finally, Brienne does something right in her miserable life by showing up. Well, I guess. Well, she did kill. I guess she did kill. Stannis.
Wounded man without a sword.
Finally, so she rolls up and. Brienne smash. I think it's pretty clear.
Smash. I agree with that. Podrick got to kill somebody, Theon got to kill somebody else, but I wrote about this scene. I never for 1 second had any fear for Sansa at all. I mean, maybe Theon could have died. I didn't think so. I didn't think any of the good guys, quote unquote, and there are, in this situation, clearly black and white characters, which is antithetical to a lot of the spirit of the books. But in this scene, I didn't think the good guys were going to lose or get hurt at all. I didn't for a second.
And I didn't think that Reek was going to be hurt because eventually it appears we're going to have the Kingsmoot.
Oh well,
up.
He's not involved in that directly in the books, other than his absence being the reason why the Kingsmoot might be invalid. Yeah, I'm taking you deep into the books, but regardless, I can't wait for the Kingsmoot. It's going to be like 3 episodes of talking. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, of all people you've only seen 2 scenes of,
right?
Or 3 scenes. Yeah, but it did see this scene at least. I think it's pushing Reek further down the path of redemption.
I agree,
and I wonder where he will end up by the end of the series.
I totally. We were talking about this with a friend when book 4 was out, and I said this experience that Theon goes through, turning into Reek, is what makes him hard enough to actually lead the Iron Islands. So I could see him being a great, king of the Iron Islands or leader of the Iron Islands, which is what he's, was born to be after, all his other older brothers got killed. But he was too soft.
How's he going to do that without a wiener?
Well, that's the thing, is maybe...
Because he can't have heirs.
Well, the idea is he impregnated the chick... He impregnated several people, so...
People or women?
People.
Oh, okay.
Some guys.
Okay.
Like you saw that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he gives birth.
Junior.
Yeah, we all know Junior.
Yeah, Junior.
No, but when he goes to home to the Iron Islands, he's totally banging the captain's daughter the whole way.
Oh, that's right.
So people are thinking that he might have at least 1 kid, if not more. And there's speculation that the 2 boys that he burned in place of Bran and Rickon, the reason he knew they were boys is because he was nailing some miller's wife. And there's a possibility that one of the kids was actually Theon's.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so he is a kinslayer. He actually gets called a kinslayer by a shadowy figure in Book 5. There's a long divergence. I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah, I think that Theon is giving some kind of redemption, but I feel like Jaime, he can't redeem himself completely. His one act of redemption will be some kind of self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Well, then the scene ends with Brienne pledging her allegiance, and finally Sansa accepts her allegiance.
Yeah, and I thought this scene was done really well. Not necessarily the fight, but the awkwardness, how everybody, it was like this formal thing that all these people know about, but have always strived to this level of importance, and they never had it before. So Podrick's a bumbling idiot, and he's becoming a true Squire. He's becoming a true squire to a true knight, Brienne, and Brienne's always been a joke, but she pledges her sword to Sansa, and Sansa hesitates with the words. She forgets the words.
And Pod's on point there.
Pod is on point. I just love. I thought this was a very tender and actually well done scene. So
I would agree with you.
Thumbs up, right?
Yeah, agreed. But again, does this push the needle? I mean, where does this get us closer? I mean, I guess this scene
this gives us a protector for Sansa. So once again, as strong of a female character that Brienne is, Sansa is still just a princess that needs protection. So next we go to King's Landing.
Yes,
so Cersei appears to be recovering nicely from her ordeal. And she's chilling. She gets a message saying, "Oh, there's a ship coming from Dorne," and she prances down with a smile on her face, ready to see Marcella, who she cares about a lot. And that's kind of news to me because they didn't really show. I mean, we saw
There's
a
been
lot
no indication of that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of interaction with her and Joffrey, more with Tom and even than Marcella. So, but she sees Jaime with what looks like obviously a coffin, and she's not happy.
This is not the type of homecoming she wanted Marcella to have.
Yeah, she wants homecoming against East Carolina where you win 64-7, something like that.
Exactly. Marcella was guaranteed to win homecoming queen.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Yep.
Now she's homecoming corpse? That's not a thing.
I like it.
Okay. I didn't. But anyways. So then Jaime is on the boat looking like,
I'm sorry.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been completely ineffective for quite a while.
His story is just awful. Where he is as a character in the show, so different from the books. But yeah, and he has this speech where they talk about prophecy. Cersei confesses about the prophecy to Jaime for the first time. I guess she's had this prophecy.
That's just something I don't know if he had brought it up before.
No, he seems shocked. He's like, "You don't believe that crap, right?"
Well, he took it pretty well. Because it's one of the most bananas things I've ever heard, and he just goes along with it.
I don't know if, Wood's Witch is not that unbelievable when there's, fucking giants and zombies running around.
I don't. You're going to have 3 kids, and the 3 of them will die, and this bitch is just bringing this up now?
Yeah, I was like, hey, wait a minute, I want to pull it out.
That's what he has to be thinking, yeah. If he's not going, this bitch is crazy. And then, there's all this mourning.
Right.
And they're talking about these 3 dead kids. Hey, what about Tommen?
Right. What are you going to do now?
I mean, he actually seemed like a good kid too, but Cersei screwed him because she was jealous of Marjorie. And so now they're like completely ignoring that he's alive and he's there, and she's screwed up his life.
Well, she said too, you made a prophecy. You said we need to stick together or else we'll be torn apart. And you went off. I sent you away and you were right. Well, I'm sure Jaime goes away again in this season. We've seen him in the Riverlands, so I guess she learns nothing. Obviously, there's going to be a schism. But my problem is, why are they coming back together? They should be growing apart. Jaime is supposed to be becoming a better person, and that involves distancing themselves from pieces of shit like his sister. It really is. They are on divergent paths in the books, and they should be in the show because that's probably where it's going to head. I mean, they're going to have a falling out. I
just think she has a bad attitude.
She seems less like she has a bad attitude and more she's just like crazy and delusional in this scene.
And entitled.
Of course she's entitled.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then that, again, another good transition. Back up a step.
Yep.
Again, this didn't really move the story along that much. I mean, we knew that Marcella was dead. It's just another character found out that
right. This is stuff we knew from last season, and I understand that, you need to show the repercussions of this death, but it doesn't go anywhere.
There weren't, other than they try the incest power twins. They doesn't really. I mean, it shows what Cersei's going to do, I guess, next by getting vengeance upon the world, but it doesn't really move the story forward at all.
Not at all. And Jaime says, "Fuck prophecy, fuck this, fuck that, fuck everyone who isn't us." Now that isn't Jaime anymore because Jaime's doing things for other people constantly in the books. That's his whole thing. Is he's not thinking about himself or his selfish nature. He's trying to live up to the white cloak on his back. He's trying to be a better person, give himself over to something more than himself.
Sure.
And his wants.
And poor Tommen. Seems like a good kid.
Right. I mean, he's going to die. It's just a matter of how. What do you think? Strangulation? Sword to the belly?
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
I think that's what it is. He's going to start listening to In Excess, and the next thing you know,
gets really into David Hutchins.
Slide over
and Keith Carradine, was it Keith?
Yeah, beta carotene.
Sure. So then another good transition. It goes from these crazy assholes to Marjorie, and
Large Marge.
Large Marge.
She's in church jail.
Yes, she was in church jail, and she begs to see her brother. She's got the mean Septa in there. And, of course, the High Sparrow comes in, and they're trying to play the classic good cop, bad cop. That's pretty easy. I've seen Law & Order. I know how that works.
Yep. Ding, ding.
She refuses to confess after the High Sparrow says a bunch of High Sparrow mumbo-jumbo, as is typical.
This is also a waste of time.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't know what this does.
What's the outcome of the scene? She's still in jail.
Yes,
she refuses to confess.
Right.
And even the High Sparrow says you started down the right path, but how far will you go or something along those lines.
Basically saying you're going to be here for a long time. And as the audience, I'm like, great. More church jail scenes of.
I feel like I'm in jail when I'm watching these scenes.
Right, I do too.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know what it doesn't even make any sense that he's saying that she started down the path But she hasn't confessed yet.
But well, she admits that nobody's perfect. I think that's what he's alluding to. He's like, "Are you holy without sin?" And she's like, "That's no one's holy without." And I thought that was that's when he made the remark about, "Well, you started down that path," meaning that she's starting to show some humility. Basically, he's gaming her, and this is predicted from the trailers is that she's gonna turn to become like all about the faith. Like they're gonna game her. She might have some agency and she might be feigning, but I'm predicting that's where it's gonna go based on what I've heard from trailer analysis videos like you've watched. So
yeah, and of course they're using good cop, bad cop.
Good cop, bad cop
to accomplish that. Yep.
All right, so
another scene where we don't advance the story. We go to your boy Dorn Duran.
And okay, so now we're gonna get to Dorn. I'm gonna resist going on a rant because I have like I don't know a couple pages worth of ranting going on here that I wrote down for Dorn.
A couple of pages.
Yeah, at least like I don't know 6-7 paragraphs, something like that.
6-7 paragraphs.
But I'm gonna try to keep to a minimum. And I just want to condense this down. So Dorn, I wrote "fuck" with an exclamation point.
Was that an entire paragraph?
That summarized the first 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
So I condensed it down to the word "fuck." But Duran, says he envies Oberyn for, being an adventurer. And I really like the scenery. I thought the water gardens in all of Dorne looked great in this compared to last season. Like, that actually looked like an amazing, sprawling castle, someplace I'd want to go. I don't know. It didn't look cheap. Or like, an Airbnb in Morocco or something. It actually looked like a legit...
an actual palace.
Yeah, someplace where royalty would live. So I thought the scenery was good. But they're having this thing, and he even, it's a ridiculous thing. We should have known he was going to die because he's like, "Oh, I've made a terrible adventure." And Valeria Sand says, "Well, I'm pretty sure Oberyn would have made a terrible ruler." And they laugh, and he says, "You are a brilliant woman." And you should have known something bad was going to happen at that point. Because it was all too chummy, just like a, B horror movie. Maester comes in with a scroll, hands it to Duran. He reads it and says, "Marcella, dead. Oh no." And then they decide to act. So I'm guessing there was a coup coming because the guards don't react while Valeria Sand stabs Duran and her daughter stabs Arya Hotar, whatever.
Yeah, that dude seemed cool. I was excited to see him.
Right. So once again,
he went out like a punk.
Yeah, they both go out like punks, and they were great in the books. At least, Arya Hotar cuts off a goddamn what are they called? What are the knights called? The King's Knights.
Kingsguard?
The Kingsguard. Yeah, he cuts off a Kingsguard's head with his fucking axe in the books.
Yeah.
We didn't get any of that. We didn't get any of this guy being a badass. Yeah, so I guess they had this coup planned for a while, but they chose that moment to act.
Yes.
Does that seem a little ridiculous to you?
Well, this is actually one of the things from Duran that actually did make sense. And as far as all these crazy timing in previous episodes, like when the Sand Snakes and the Gang of Two show up to capture Marcella at the same time, and all these different coincidences that were beyond the suspension of disbelief. But this, they probably acted because, hey, he's got news now that he knows it's coming.
But they were ready. They were ready. They're like, okay. Yeah. They talked about it. Okay. If something bad happens, I'm going to give you the look, and the look's going to mean you stab whoever's close to you, and I'm going to stab whoever's close to me. Like, are they just fortunate that he received that news while they were in his presence? The whole thing just seems fucking ridiculous, and I'm going to go into rant, so let's go down to the rant section. My whole point is that Game of Thrones, one of the best parts about it is its political intrigue. It's about outwitting your rivals and being carefully planning to navigate these strange, waters. And the Sand Snakes and Ilaria Sand don't do any of that. They just stab people in the back. It just seems so rushed and so ill-prepared. I'm like, well, is this how coups happen? Why do we have to, listen to Littlefinger rant for, seasons upon seasons when he could have just...
in his sex position.
Right. And then I'm like, what's the plan now? Okay, so you remove Duran. who's the rightful ruler of Dorne?
I don't know. I
Because
still
there's
do not understand how Dorne politics work. And
Yeah.
I don't understand how it is supposed to tie into the ultimately what the story is going to be, humans against White Walkers.
All right, and not even that. The other storyline that is irrelevant in the face of the White Walkers is the play for the Iron Throne. And the only way Dorne has got to be an open rebellion at this point. Yes.
Yeah, but
Right?
if she has all of the King's Guard or all of, I don't know, the Prince's Guard, is she in charge now? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I don't know who's in charge, but whoever's in charge has to deal with the shit show of the Iron Throne. Obviously, the Iron Throne's not in a good place, but when they get their shit together, they're going to remember that you murdered, a princess,
Yeah, absolutely.
and they're going to come for blood. So the only way that Dorne really affects the main plot is how they are another threat to people we care about or are more interested in, like Jaime and Cersei. I don't love Cersei, but I'm more interested in her because she's more of a complex character. This group of people from Dorne, I could give a shit. I'm just watching. I'm counting the clock until they're removed from the game. That's it.
Yeah, the other thing is that this assassination, it did the impossible, Doug.
What's that?
It made the Dorne storyline even less important.
Right. Like, it was dumb last season, but I feel like it had importance. Like, I feel like the reason they did it, I kept asking, why, if it's done this half-assed, they're still doing it, so there must be an ultimate reason. Now I'm questioning what that reason is. That just made it, instead of dumb, it's still dumb, but now it's irrelevant.
Yes, absolutely. So then another good transition. Oh, she goes through the whole list of reasons why he's weak.
Right. And then he asks about his son, and this is what I'm so Tristan's chilling on a boat in Blackwater Bay Harbor.
This makes no sense at all.
He is supposed to take a seat on the small council.
Yes.
And even if he doesn't, shouldn't he be taken into custody as a possible suspect in the murder of the princess on the boat? Like,
why wasn't he go on the boat back to whatchamacallit?
Well, that was part of the deal. Duran said, Jaime, I'll let you go free even though you were trespassing, as long as my son, can take up Oberyn's place on the small council. So he's supposed to be there to be a political advisor. So why is he just hanging out on the fucking boat?
Why is he not on the boat with Jaime?
And, okay, so didn't he get on the boat when Jaime did? And weren't all the Sand Snakes on the dock?
The Sand Skanks. I think
the Sand Skanks. We will call them the Sand Skanks going forward.
They were definitely on the dock with Ilaria.
Right.
I don't recall whether Trystane was on the boat with Jaime, but it makes zero sense for Trystane not to be on the boat with Jaime.
Yeah, if they're all going, why would they, take two boats, I guess? I don't know. It just seemed dumb, right? And then the whole like trying to inject humor was just awful and bad. Where
the greedy bitch line?
Yeah, the greedy bitch. God, it hurts my heart and it hurts my brain to watch these Dorne scenes, all of them.
Yes,
I'm just done with it. I'm done with it. I could care less.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to belabor that scene.
All right,
short
so let's
and
move
terrible.
on.
So we move on to everyone's favorite comic duo.
Pinky and the Brain?
Varys and Tyrion are wandering around Marine trying to figure out exactly what he should do. And I don't think we've discussed this yet, but I want to I know it's talking to a television show, but I wanted to congratulate Varys on his transition, his N to P transition. I don't know if you've noticed, but he's transitioning from a neutered man to a penis.
What the fuck are you talking about?
If you look at him, he looks more like a penis every single episode.
Oh, you saying he's trimming down and losing weight?
No. He gets fatter, and it's like his neck starts to look more and more like a shaft.
Okay, I guess I'm at a different headspace when I look at Varys. All bald men look like penises to a certain extent. I
was just struck in this episode how he's looking more and more like a penis.
Is his scalp getting veinier?
Is this crazy? Is this too far off the rails?
This is off the rails, but we're going to leave it in. Keep going.
Okay, good. Was that another penis joke later?
Right.
So they were they were wandering around trying to determine what to do with how to govern Meereen because they don't have any clue.
Right.
And as they go, you see visual clues of just how poor Meereen is faring while Dany's out of town on her sabbatical. That was a funny scene, I thought. Tyrion
with the
trying
baby.
To interact. Yeah,
I thought that was good. I'll give it to them. And let's face it, this is one of the things. And I don't like the show. I'm forcibly watching it to make fun of it, but at the same time, this is one thing that the show can do that the books can't, is put these characters that don't interact in the books together. Mm-hmm. Like Arya when she was the cupbearer for Tywin. We got to see Arya interact with Tywin. That doesn't happen in the books. It's not going to happen in the books. Tywin's dead.
Sure.
So, having Varys and Tyrion together is awesome. And this is just, I want more of this, let's say.
Yeah, they make a good duo, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. So they're wandering around after the baby scene where a commoner thinks that Tyrion's trying to purchase her baby to eat, which, I thought that might actually make sense beyond the language barrier, and that she probably doesn't see a lot of little people wandering around, And then they see some either Mr. Brainwash or Banksy of Meereen has spray painted the message. What was the message? It said, kill the masters, Daenerys, or Misa is a master, I think is what it said.
Right, that's exactly what it says.
Yeah. And it just shows very well how Daenerys' rule is not working out nearly as well as she thought. And I don't know if it's a product of her absence right now or if that's just the way that things have been going. I get the impression that's the way things have been going.
I get the impression that it's a shadow, or not even a shadow war. You have two factions, and one faction has deserted. So you have the Sons of the Harpy still carrying on their propaganda campaign and guerrilla warfare, whatever kind of warfare they're engaged in. And now they just have no opposition because Daenerys not around to battle against them.
Mm-hmm. And then Tyrion and Varys stumble upon a Lord of Light worship. I don't know that we had seen the Lord of Light show up in Meereen yet.
We hadn't, I don't believe.
Yeah. There was a great line at the end when they were walking away from there where Tyrion just goes, "That's a problem." This is a really well delivered line, and it
he's
funny.
He's amazing.
Yeah. So then they discuss how the Sons of the Harpy must have been an orchestrated attack. There must be a leader. And, of course, Sherlock Penis is on the case. He's already got his little birds flitting about to attempt to locate who's
but obviously the little birds must have been sick today because we hear an alarm. We hear a bell go off and people running away.
I don't know if it's because Varys is new to Meereen.
He's like, hey, it's my first day. Come on, I'll do better next week.
Yeah, he's got one of those hang in there cats posters in his office.
At his office. Yeah. And then the little birds are coming. He's like, we got nothing. What do you mean you got nothing? My ass is on the line.
Yeah, he was. I mean, in every other place that he's been, he's known about things seemingly weeks in advance, and he knows everything. But in Meereen, it seems like he knows nothing because it cuts to people fleeing from a burning harbor.
Yeah, so that alarm must have went off just slightly too late.
Yeah.
To stop the inferno of every single boat in the harbor getting just destroyed.
Well, and listen, I know Sherlock Penis hasn't looked at it yet, hasn't done the exposition, but could it have been the work of 20 good men?
I was thinking the exact same thing. This assault on the ships had the precision and the timing of Ramsay Bolton. So I think he took his TARDIS to Meereen and destroyed all these ships at the same time. And no one set off the alarm until well after the ships have been burning for a long time.
Yeah, I didn't buy that whole thing.
Yeah,
it was too sudden.
Yep, it's too rushed. And once again, especially in an episode where you had time, you got to flesh that out a little bit, I guess.
Because again, nothing happened in the scene.
Right. What happens? So what do we learn from this particular scene? Where do we start in this beginning of the scene, and where do we end?
Nowhere.
We start at the same place that we end.
Yeah.
Tyrion and Varys are just talking about how difficult it is to rule Meereen. That's it.
All this could have been accomplished. The Lord of the Light worship, that all could have been accomplished in 3 sentences of exposition.
Yeah.
It's done.
It could have been a mention in a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Varys could have been like, well, my little birds tell me the Red Priests are preaching Daenerys. But the Red Priests seem to be on Daenerys' side.
Yes.
And in opposition to the Harpy, which should be pointed out, I guess, because, maybe you could leverage those people to fight against the Harpy faction. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And we talked about it all prior to recording this episode. It's still the Sons of the Harpy thing is so directionless, and it doesn't make any sense in the way that the show has presented it versus the books.
Right.
At least in the books, it was a small scale operation. It could seem like it was presumably orchestrated by the former slave masters.
Yeah, like I said, it's more of like a shadowy operation in the books as opposed to 150 guys raiding a stadium like in the second to last episode of last season.
It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
So after we see the conflagration in the bay, transitions to Dario and Jorah.
Yeah.
And, of course, they're following Dany's path.
And let me ask you this.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not a tracker, but how do you track a fucking flying animal that you don't know its migration or flying habits or, like, how far can it fly? I don't know. It went off north. I guess
only Dragonfire can burn.
So they just pride chance happen upon a burned ram. And they're talking about, he's like, dude, doesn't it? He's like, why you keep coming back? And he's like, you know why? And it's because you want to bang my girlfriend. Yeah. Doesn't that suck? Aren't you frustrated? And he's like, yeah, it sucks.
He admits he wants to bone down.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they're, I guess, palling it up. Who wants to see these two together? I don't know. Not me.
No.
And they do finally come upon some real tracks, horse tracks from the Khalasar. So that makes more sense. But, I still don't know how they tracked a dragon in flight.
This episode wasn't quite as bad as far as the timing coincidences. I know we've already discussed some of them. But then when they went and found the jewelry and, the expression needle in a haystack, I think that would actually be easier than what this one where they found a needle in an earring in a countryside.
I agree, but at the same time, that earring was found in the center of a huge constellation of horse tracks.
Yes.
So that made more sense to me, but my bigger point is I don't know how you track a dragon. It's flying. What do you smell the air?
I don't know.
You head north.
Yeah, you head north.
That's it. Okay.
I think that was it. Yeah. Yeah, and finds Scorched Rams, which is, by the way, is the name of my new metal band.
Pretty good metal band name.
Scorched Rams? Yeah, actually it's pretty good.
All right, so, and they agree, that they've got her, right? The only conclusion they come to, obviously they have her. They could have killed her. They could have just, raped her in a cave a couple yards down the road, but no, they have her. And this shows you that how tenuous her situation is she doesn't speak up, because we cut to her in chains, Dany in chains, getting dragged along, and she doesn't tell anybody that she's, a Dothraki Khaleesi. And
that's the name of your rap rock band.
That is.
Right? Dany in Chains.
Dany in Chains.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right, so... so she's getting dragged around like she's, a spoil of war. And, these two Tweedledee and Tweedle numbnuts talking about just sexually harassing her the whole way, talking about, this is the best. In Dothraki, one guy says, do you think her pussy hair is white too?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, if you're going to use a modern colloquialism like pussy, why can't you just church it up and use another modern colloquialism like, does the carpet match the curtains?
Jesus.
Or something like that. It just seems like overly crude. And of course, you have this whole violence against women thing because they say, I can't wait to fuck her in the ass. Well,
I think you missed the best line when the one guy says, only when I was fucking your grandmother. And so it made me realize, hey, you know what? HBO, they were paying those entourage writers. They got to put them somewhere.
That's right.
So apparently they're writing dialogue for jabronis on Game of Thrones now.
Oh, yeah.
All those two guys throughout the whole scene, they were really annoying, except for the one part where they kept saying things that were better than seeing a woman naked for the first time.
Oh, yeah. That was, I put that in there.
Morrow was getting so annoyed.
Right. It seemed like a Mel Brooks comedy scene. So the two jabronis bring what they think is just some random, spoil of war slave woman to the Call Moro. And the reason I know that is because I put on the captions. And yeah, he's getting really excited to take her clothes off, but he's talking about it ahead of time, saying what is better than seeing a beautiful woman naked for the first time. And it's like, well, you can do this, well, you can do that, and then, well, I'm not gonna explain
that was actually a pretty funny interaction, I thought.
It was funny, but like the tone was just all over the place.
Well, in the context of he's about to tear her clothes off and presumably rape her. I mean,
this is the headspace that the showrunners live in. So they're just like, before we brutally sexually harass this girl, let's make some jokes.
Yeah.
Let's lighten the mood. In a
vacuum, though, that was funny.
I agree, and watching it the second time, I did find it more humorous than the first time because I feel like I was trying to be in the spirit of fearing for Dany's life or well-being. So I really wasn't receptive to jokes, I guess. Mm-hmm. But then Dany, right when he's about to rip her clothes off, she speaks up in Dothraki for the first time, rattles off all her titles, and tells him that she is a Khaleesi. She is wife to Khal Drogo, who is dead. And then we find out that all widows of Khals have to go live with the other widows at Vaes Dothrak, which I guess is the city of Horsies, where all the Horsies and all the horsey people live.
Sure. And I wanted to point out that the Khals' wives were throwing some serious shade at Dany.
I like that. I like them too.
You did.
I like the woman who was like, she's a witch, but it's cut off her head.
Yeah. I don't know. They got to stand up for their fellow women. How about some solidarity, ladies?
Well, I mean, think about it. It's a pretty shitty situation where they're both his wives, and he's talking about how he can't wait to fuck this girl. And they gotta feel a little jealous. All right, so that's what's happening. The wives seem really happy that she's rubbing it in her face that she's going to Vaes Dothrak to be part of the Dosh Khaleen, which is the harem of old lady widows of Khals, to just hang out there. So it doesn't seem like a pleasant prospect.
Did the books ever explain what exactly happens at Vaes Dothrak?
Well, essentially, it's just like the closest thing that these nomadic people have to a city, and even warring factions will put their whatever disagreements aside, and they can't bear steel in the city, draw their blades, or spill blood in Vaes Dothrak, which is why was the needle that caused Viserys to be murdered, but with molten gold. So we've actually been in Vaes Dothrak before in the show, but it didn't feel like it did. It just felt like we were in another goddamn hut in the middle of the grasslands. But
so what's so terrible about it, though?
I don't know. Besides, you're just taken out of the game. That's it. So you can't go off and rule Westeros. You'll live a long, happy life with a bunch of people from a different culture that knit.
That seems fine.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that bad. I'm sure the 401k, the benefits are probably great.
Yeah,
probably a decent healthcare.
Bingo on Tuesdays.
Bingo,
shuffleboard. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No. So moving on to the next scene, we get to see our old friend Arya blind and begging, and of course the waif rolls up and continues to be a turd. And so I think we've discussed this is from the House of Snoozes line of the story. So the waif rolls up with a couple of sticks, throws a stick at Arya, and then just starts beating a blind girl in the streets. And I guess that's where we're at with this storyline.
Yeah, to me, this just boggled me. And
it was more frustrating to me that now this storyline has been going, how many episodes now? 11 episodes?
Yeah.
Or at least 11 worth of the show. I don't know if she's been on every episode. But it's not any further. She's still
not progressing. She's not getting better at being an assassin.
After 11 episodes, where they're only theoretically going to have 80 episodes in the entire thing, shouldn't she have progressed somewhat?
One would think, but
they do show in the preview for the next week, it seems like she is learning to fight back against the waif. She was able to at least catch some of the waif's blows in the preview for next week. But again, where does the scene get us? Does the scene get us any
we don't
further?
get us anywhere. She's still blind. She's still kind of being in training, I guess. This is part of her training, I'm assuming.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way that you can really take it.
Right. I guess it's like they're trying to teach her to be the blind ninja and to hear things really well, because she's like, do you hear the people talking?
But I think this training is completely off book.
Yeah. Well, she was blind in the books as well, but she didn't get beaten about with sticks. Well, she did. Actually, she did. She got beaten around by the old man who was played by Jake and Hagar in the show. And she overcomes it not by hearing well and adapting. She overcomes it by warging into a cat. So she's able to see through the cat's eyes, and she's able to defend herself. So I'm hoping something like that happens on the show, but I don't know if they're going to introduce the fact that Arya's a warg like Jon Snow and like Bran, and how like all the Stark kids can basically go into animals when need be.
Yeah, that was a real deviation from and I don't think I realized it until because I read the books. I read them once and I just tuned out, especially on the warging things.
Yeah,
they were kind of boring. Just a description of a
well,
a
I mean,
wolf
mostly
running around,
it's within dreams. Like, so nobody is consciously warging animals except for Bran. Of all the Stark kids, Bran's the only one that's like saying, I'm going to go into Ghost now. I'm going to go into Hodor now. So Jon Snow constantly has dreams, wolf dreams, where he feels like he can see through ghost eyes. And Nymeria, who is Arya's wolf, who she had to let go, had to have the, get out of here, I don't like you anymore, to save her life. So in the book, Arya's having dreams of her wolf, basically tearing shit up in the Riverlands, which is a great little thing. And you imagine that Arya is going to hook back up with her wolf and kick ass.
Yeah.
But we don't get any of that in the show. And I understand. You got to cut
because the show would have to progress to get to that point.
Yeah, but to bring this back to the point, nothing really happens here. We're just they're just showing you where all the characters are. And that's it. Nothing really happens.
So then we cut to Castle Black. Actually, at the end of the scene where the waif says, I'll see you again tomorrow, that was somewhat threatening, at least, because the implication is she's going to show back up with a stick again and beat her in the streets, which I guess is fine where they are.
Bravos is like, check it out.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, look at that. Look at that.
It's
look at that one little girl beating the shit out of the other little girl who's feared to be blind.
Yeah,
that's fucking awesome.
That blind person. If this was YouTube, that shit would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically bum fights.
Yeah, bum fights. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, not hobo fights.
Yeah, or World Star Hip Hop.
Yeah, that would be great. Popped up there. Anyway, so then it cuts to Castle Black, where your buddy Alistair Thorne wants Jon Snow's body back.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to admit to the listener, I didn't get to finish the rewatch. And when I watched the show the first time, I had a couple of drinks, so it got really fuzzy for me at this point, so I don't remember what happens. Why does Alistair Thorne want Jon's body? Why does it matter?
They never explain. They
never explain. They weren't like, we need to, like, because the only thing I can think of is we need to burn his body so that he doesn't come back as a zombie or a white.
That would make sense.
But they didn't mention that as a reason to take the body?
I don't recall ever hearing a reason why they wanted the body back.
Okay.
And Davos, they keep knocking. Thorne offers amnesty to everyone in there. Davos is all, you keep on knocking, but you can't come in. It's funny that this is another scene where Thorne was the traitor, and meanwhile he's offering amnesty to them. And Davos has some funny back and forth where Thorne offers Davos free passage to travel south, and Davos keeps asking for mutton. Because he'll be hungry on the trip. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I remember that.
And of course, Davos is smart enough to realize that if they walk out, they're
so it's just Davos trying to stretch out, trying to play for
stalling.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Right. So he's stalling so that hopefully Pip will get back with the ginger badass Tormund's Giantbane.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the entire scene. really short. So then it segues into the most. I don't understand. I did not understand. I mean, there was a lot of people on the internet who were discussing how this was such a crazy reveal and all this stuff. And so I guess the scene, you want to explain the scene, or would you like me to?
No, I'll explain the scene from what I remember, because this will wake you out of sobriety. This will sober you up in a moment's notice. So Melisandre gets naked, right? Is this where it starts?
Yes.
So she gets naked, and we see, she's, beautiful, got some amazing eyes, and she then takes off her choker necklace that has a red jewel, and when she does so, it's revealed that she's an old lady.
Yeah, it wasn't an immediate transition. And
so it was like a Teen Wolf situation?
No, I don't know that the choker necessarily is the specific thing that makes her transition, because
but it is in the books.
I did see on the internet pictures of her in a bath without the choker on, and she's young, Melisandre.
Oh, really? Well, that sucks.
Yeah, no, I don't know if they just screwed up, on the previous scene.
It probably was some kind of, continuity thing with the showrunners, but the reason why everybody thought that the jewel on her throat is what's keeping her young, and people predicted this. This, by the way, didn't happen in the books, but people predicted this because, the ruby would always glow red when she was doing magics. And she basically tricked everyone to thinking that Mance Rayder was the Lord of Bones by having him wear I think it was a bracelet. Anyway, some kind of like jewelry with a big red stone that basically would glamour or change his appearance. So it's been speculated that, well, if she's changing the appearance of Mance Rayder so he looks like the Lord of Bones, and she has a jeweled piece of necklace or whatever, jewelry, she is hiding her own appearance. So this was foreseen by a lot of book readers. Not me. I didn't, I'm just a dumb guy. But this was no argument there, right?
I don't care.
That's the thing is, who gives a fuck? What is the implication? She was magic before, she's magic now. I don't like you. Yeah, sure. If I'm gonna make a shadow baby, can you put the necklace back on?
Really.
It's like Job from Arrested Development. Let's try it with your glasses on. No,
glasses on, lights on, lights off, hair up, hair down. Yeah, but I don't. I understand.
What are the implications of this?
Nothing. I mean, the showrunners in that stupid wrap-up were saying that they wanted to show how she had to face who she was and where she was and all this stuff. I don't care.
Right. She's not a likable character. We don't care. She is.
It hasn't gone any further. And the whole thing is we expected her to raise Jon Snow in this episode.
Right.
So instead of that reveal, we get this reveal. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, who gives a shit? You know what I've been waiting for, for a whole year? Is to see what Melisandre's boobies would look like if she was about, 30, 40 years older.
Sure. And that's why you're into that GILF stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not
Century
into that.
Club.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Oh, and I feel bad for the poor lady who played old Melisandre too.
Yeah, well, you always feel bad for people that are like, all right, I got to roll. All right, that's awesome, sweetie. You've been in Hollywood for 80 years.
Yeah, I'm hired to be the most hideous thing these people could think of.
It's like, it's like when you're an actor and they offer you the role to like be the fat guy, to be the butt of the joke.
Yeah,
and it's not, you're really not acting too much. You're just, your physical appearance is, I'm sure that this person was doctored with makeup and stuff, but yeah, it's got to be pretty rough to be.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like gross.
Yeah, I thought there was a moment where I thought she might kill herself when they cut to that little potion that was sitting on the table. I don't know if you recall that.
I remember a brief glimpse at a vial, but I don't know what relevance it had.
Yeah, so we ended on the reaction that I saw online. I don't want to spend too much time on other people's reactions, but a lot of people said this was a shocker or what a good finish and all this stuff. I just don't understand because, again, it doesn't seem to push the story forward at all.
Right. It's inconsequential. It's like the Dorne stuff. It's like the lowest common denominator that likes Game of Thrones just watches it for nudity and violence.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like these are the same people that are like, oh my God, Melisandre's old.
Can you believe it, bro?
Who gives a shit? The shock has no relevance to the narrative. It really doesn't. She was magic before. We knew she was a magical being that could do magical shit. This is just reaffirming that?
I guess.
What other relevance does it have?
I don't know, to show that she was sad, but we already knew that she was sad.
Yeah, she already had enough
moping around all over the place.
Yeah. Being a sad sack. She was like, like, Melisandre, we got another small child. Do you want to burn it? No, I don't want to burn a child today. I'm down in the dumps.
Yeah. It's like that Charlie Brown where she's walking with her head down.
But I just think I'd like to credit the article if I could, but there's an article on IO9 about how to make the show good again. And the author said that they're coming off of the Storm of Swords book, which was season 3 and 4, where you just had all these holy shit moments. You had Oberyn versus the Mountain, and he gets his head blown, shattered. You got Tyrion escaping, killing his father. You had I think it's where Dany, gets the slave army and burns that guy's face off. You just have all sorts of like awesome moments, and it was just a series of like climaxes. And the following 2 books were all about the.
Sounds like my Friday night. Am I right?
Yeah, am I right? God,
we're
cutting all that. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so but the showrunners are trying to keep that hype. They want like another Red Wedding. They want another shocking reveal, and they're manufacturing these things. They're manufacturing these shocking moments, and they ring hollow.
Yeah, and they could have had one in this episode by the resurrection of Jon Snow.
This is the one I mean, it doesn't, like, everybody knows he's going to come back. Just fucking give us what we want.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's curious that the Brandon Stark didn't show up.
Yeah,
in this episode.
I was really disappointed because I do want to see what's going on with Brandon Stark. I liked, even though the Three-Eyed Crow, he's said to have 1,000 eyes in one because he's missing an eye. He has both of them. We see from the trailers, but that doesn't matter. The actor seems like they got a competent actor to play the Three-Eyed Crow, and I'm looking forward to seeing Bran and Bran's training, because it's going to be like Arya's, only interesting, because he's gonna become powerful, and he's gonna see stuff. He's gonna see things, elements that'll reveal more about the story, and obviously from the trailers, what happens at the Tower of Joy when Ned found Lyanna.
Sure, and it's also the hilarious transition from him being like an 11-year-old to being like 21 now.
Yeah, to being a member of Oasis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, no Littlefinger in the last few episodes.
Yeah. Well, obviously in the books, Littlefinger is hanging out with Sansa, so their storylines are one. And since Littlefinger has sent Sansa to Bolton for some reason, we don't know what's going on. You're right. They've just neglected Littlefinger for what seems like, has it been like 5 episodes, 6?
I don't know. I think maybe since that marriage, and he seems to be one of the most dangerous and also one of the most interesting characters on the show to me.
Yeah, he's.
And I think we discussed it in our discussions before, how it seems like everyone else vying for the crown is more or less an entitled asshole, was born by the genetic lottery,
right?
And he's actually the one guy who's scrambling his way to the top.
The great American success story, pulling himself up by the bootstraps, and he's dangerous.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
Yeah.
So then it ends with we have the next week's preview.
I did not see next week's preview, so please hit me with it.
There's a lot of quick hitters. We see Old Man Bran. We see Robert Strong getting ready to smash.
Awesome.
We see Sansa and the gang likely suffering hypothermia.
Yeah.
But it's just a scene of her talking to Brienne, and you can't really tell what's going on. You see Arya actually fighting the waif again with bow staffs, a la Leonardo. And she actually catches actually defends herself. It looks like she's starting to catch on. Ramsay, of course, has a plan in action.
But we don't know what the plan is. You don't.
Not really. No. He says he's in the process of going after.
It? What?
He's going after. He discusses the plan to track down Sansa.
Okay.
But it's not really a plan. He just says I had people on it or something.
20 good men because
20
good men.
Nope. He needs 21 on this one. And then you see Jaime Sasson the High Sparrow, and the implications that he might stab the High Sparrow.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Thorne is attempting to bust into the room where Jon Snow's body is. Of course, you saw that in the preview.
Right.
And then also that shot from the preview where Tyrion has a torch and is rumored or speculated that he is going to be near the dragons.
Right. Okay. And this is next week's. It's not like coming further down in the season. This is what we can expect in the next episode, right?
I think.
Well, that's good. At least we'll see Bran, so that's great.
Yeah.
And even if that's just like setting us up, his storyline just seems much more fascinating than at least Arya's training. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that'll be interesting, and
we'll get to see Bobby Strong smash. That'll be good.
I don't know why. You asked me, why do I want to see Robert Strong like decimate these pious people in the church? It's just, I don't know. Like, I shouldn't like Robert Strong because he's a mountain undead, and he's a vessel of Cersei, who is unlikable as well. But for some reason, I want to see him smash. I want to see him just be an unstoppable monster. Sure,
I think that's coming.
Well, yeah,
and
great.
Then
so
following the preview, we had the 4 minutes of inside the HBO or inside the episode, which might as well have just been the showrunners saying, "Look at us, look at us, look at us." It's stupid. I mean, they basically did a shittier job of recapping than we did.
I'm sure.
I don't know if that's even possible.
That is definitely possible. All right, so what are your hopes? Like, obviously, you gave your impression, but reiterate your impression of this episode and what your feelings are for at least the next episode, if not the season as a whole.
I'm optimistic that this was just a table setting episode.
Yep.
And that we'll get into something interesting next episode. I don't know if I'm optimistic at this point. I mean, they just had so many opportunities to make this episode interesting by resurrecting Jon Snow, moving along some of these lines, and they just didn't do it. I mean, they can say it's a function of this need to be a table setting episode, but I mean, they could have resurrected Jon Snow and not showed Melisandre turning an old crone. I mean, that just wasn't necessary.
I agree. There was a lot of unnecessary things where, they probably in their head thought, okay, we table sat this episode. We showed where everybody is, but we also gave the audience a little something. And I think they honestly probably believe that. But like I said, the Dorne stuff was really the only thing of consequence, and it's horrible, and it makes the whole thing irrelevant in my eyes.
Yeah,
Dorne is now just an obstacle to be overcome by more competent characters. That's it. Everybody from Dorne is
Dorne going to march on the rest of the people? I don't know.
Right, or just sit back and wait to be marched upon by whoever's left to be the whatever ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. I don't know.
Sure. Well, I think that about wraps it up, Doug.
All right, so that wraps it up. Once again, my name is Doug. We got Brian. This was Ashamed of Thrones, your weekly recap for hate watching the HBO show Game of Thrones. We'll be back next week. We were recording these things on Monday, so Tuesday following the episode, this should be up. And if you want more information, kill yourself. But if you don't do that, you can go to the website, ashamedofthrones.com. Or check us out on Twitter at Ashamed of Throne, because I couldn't get the S on there. All right, say goodbye to the people, Brian.
Thank you and sorry.
All right, I apologize. Have a good night.
We'll get better.
All right.